Alright, part 2 of my great quest. I've just literally come back from winning the first game of my potentially very, very long journey to 2400. If I haven't mentioned it already, which I believe I have, I am only trying to get to 2400 on classical chess, rapid chess, and potentially blitz chess on the Live Chess site. The reason for this is that Bullet and Ultra Bullet are just too fast for me. I know my limitations. I sometimes play it on my phone, so there is a small chance I'll get to 2400 without even being fully aware of it. But on the computer, I think my mouse might be a bit too slow, my reflexes are not perfect. So I am going to just confine myself to slightly slower time limits. Right, so into the game. We are playing a French defense exchange variation. Now it's a sort of slightly unusual version of the French defense exchange. Usually white and black both castle on the king's side. I think I should do that anyway. I just don't really want to ask for trouble. I've put my knight in a slightly unusual position on c3. The plan here is that I actually want to play knight to e2 in the future. My opponent isn't making that too easy, however, so I may have to adjust accordingly. Big question for me is, do I want to play g4 after h3? I actually don't, and I'm going to risk it, because risking it is fun. They will damage my pawn structure, so I've got the two bishops, but as you can see, I lie in ruins on the king's side. The plan might be, because I haven't fully thought this through, the plan could well be to play knight f5 at the given moment. So that means I need to attack on the king's side. I'm going to play king h1 as a safety move. Rook to g1 is very probably my next move. I now have to figure out whether or not I sacrifice. The answer is usually no, but I do have to think about it anyway. Bishop takes knight improves them. That's the downside. I'm going to play bishop e3 because they may seek to control the center with rook to e8, which they have played exactly. Rook g1. I'm continuing on the king side. I'm totally ignoring all attempts for them to control the center and the queen side. My next move, I wonder if you can see what it is that I am planning to do. It's about as subtle as a brick. Well, my moves all have a reason to it. It may not be a very good reason, as indicated here. My move may have been a mistake. But my reason was bishop takes h6 with a strong attack. I now have to work out what happens if I do it anyway, and don't even care that I am not capturing on g3. So if bishop takes h6, they are limited to several responses, which does sound a bit like a computer. They either take my bishop on h6, to which I take their with my queen, king g8, then I take their bishop, and they will have to lose a lot of material, so good for me. They could also move their bishop on g3 somewhere. The somewhere in particular I'm not sure of, but my guess is either d6 or h2. If they do that, then I can take on g7 with my bishop, and I'm really, really liking that move. So, again, this may be incorrect. In fact, it most likely is incorrect. I'm now changing my mind, because I do that sometimes. And now I'm changing it again. I thought for a second they might play rook g8. In a way, they will defend their pawn, and then if I take their bishop, they'll take my one. However, again, my queen on d2 is my saviour. It is aiming at the h6 square, so I don't mind if I lose a piece. And the material as it stands at this exact moment, obviously this is subject to change, and there we go, they've gone straight for it. They are going into the bear trap. The material as it stands, to complete my sentence, white is losing. It's a pawn for a piece, but white does have initiative. They have attack. They've got something. That something may not be enough, but this something is at least interesting. Now, they are going to have to take my bishop. There was no other choice. Now I'm going to take their bishop. I'm still behind by a piece. I'm banking on the fact that if they go king f6, this just looks like a one-way ticket to getting checkmated. King h8 also looks like a one-way ticket to getting checkmated, however. So this is looking very, very good for white. In fact, if they go king h8, I would have taken their knight with complications. So here, I think the natural looking move to me is to move my queen. Moving queens is usually good kind of position. Now I just have to work out the logistics here. If rook to e1 check, that does look like it wins on the spot. King to d6. Then I go queen f4, I think. Queen f4. Then they have to block with their knight or their rook. They seem to somehow be getting away with this, which doesn't seem fair. They do appear to be escaping, but I don't think they have enough. I think my attack is strong enough to win the game anyway. I am somewhat amazed that they're not getting mated in this position, because their king is incredibly weak. None of their pieces seem to be coordinating very well together, but I can't see the knockout. I can't see the win. I'm sure there'll be some players who are pretty good players who'll be screaming at me through the screen to play a certain move, but I just don't see it. I do not see the win. See no evil, hear no evil. And I'm going to play queen f4. Now, the knight had to block. That was a necessary move. That was basically forced. So, do I take with the pawn or the rook or the queen? I can eliminate the queen. I will lose my own queen. Then, taking with the pawn, they can go king d7. And again, I just don't see the win. I'm sure I'm missing something here. Pawn takes. They go king d7. I go bishop f5. They go king somewhere. King d8. I don't see it. I'm afraid I do not see the win. So rook takes. This looks a lot more dangerous for black. All sorts of horrible attacks that I have. King d7 may be the best move on the board. To which I will play, I think, rook takes g8. Could well be completely wrong, but I am looking at the move rook takes g8. They've taken me with their rook. They are not scared of me in the slightest, which I think is sensible. They don't need to be scared of me. And I don't see the win. This is infuriating. I've only got a minute or two left, so check. Bishop f5 looks like a good way of continuing the game. Checking them, being annoying. Rook takes knight, rook takes rook, queen f6, queen over. They seem to be okay. So I'm going to charge at them with queen g7. Still, I'm trying to pressurize, trying to be annoying. I think I succeeded. They've got lots of problems here, and I don't see how they solve it. I have a trump card, to use a terrible pun and not be referring to anything political. I do have an ace up my sleeve then, to keep it clean. I've got this h-pawn that is going to charge up the board. They've moved the rook. They're trying to maybe check me in the future. I don't really mind if they check me. King g2 looks extremely safe. My king is completely boxed in by the pawns and rook. Knight to that square that I can't seem to say at the moment. I don't see what's wrong with taking the pawn, but I am actually going to go queen f6. This move is actually a blunder. I just saw for a second. I just saw I'd blundered horribly. All right, never mind. I may still have chances. Rook g5. They still... oh, wow, that looks very dangerous for me. Okay, king g2. Looks like I'm running out of ideas. But rook h8 is a blunder. No, it isn't. I thought it was. It still might be, actually. Yes, it is. It is a blunder. Queen d6. I thought they could go king c6 for some reason, but I was having a, I don't know, seeing a phantom, as someone I know calls it. Queen d7. And unfortunately, they have been checkmated. But this, oh, okay, or they're going to resign. Seems to be a running theme. People resign one move from mate. All right, let's have a look at this game, because this, I think, is fascinating. And hey, I've gained 3 points for my rating, so I've almost reached 2300, so only 100 or so points away. I am going to turn on the computer, but the analysis is my own. So I don't entirely play the right setup. I'm just trying to make the game non-theoretical, if that is a word, and if it isn't, I've invented a new one. I'm trying to make the game just a little bit different than is normally played, so this will usually benefit the stronger player, because the weaker player won't just be able to rely on theory and usually goes wrong first. And I say usually because sometimes it is the stronger player who goes wrong. It looks like it was me this time. It looks like the stronger player, at least according to the ratings, did make the mistake. Knight bd7 is a very good move, I think, just to solidify. There's no reason for black to take my knight straight away except double the pawns. Black still has the advantage though. Knight g3 for me, it looked like a good move, although computers disagree. King h1 is clearly not going to be that good a move, but it was with a plan in mind. It wasn't just a mindless wood pushing move. And for a moment the computer actually liked bishop takes g3 for black, sealing up the g file. That doesn't happen anymore. Bishop takes g3 was one of the best moves for black. My queen d2 is now good. I've got lots of things aiming at their king, just like in the game. Black is unfortunately losing. My move is actually good. My ridiculous attacking, aggressive moves have paid off, especially in blitz. So if we go back to one move earlier, apparently black's best move is g6, which I'm not sure anyone would play unless they had calculated this for a very long time. Number one, it loses a pawn. Number two, it's not really doing anything in terms of getting initiative or attacking. It's an entirely protective move to stop me blasting my way through and damaging even more of their pawns. So they had to lose one of them, but not lose 2 or 3 of their pawns. So it's a kind of lesser of two evils idea. White still has a clear advantage though, so I definitely know which side I would prefer to be. Bishop takes g3, bishop takes h6 was good. So, as discussed, if bishop takes h2, it's actually mate in 3. I take with check, force their king to a terrible square. Queen h6 is actually winning on the spot. I would have played bishop takes f6 check, which would also win. But this has more style to it. Queen h8 mate. So black did play knight g8. If they'd taken my bishop, they would also have got mated in style. Queen takes check. Computers don't see the mate yet, because black can probably give away their queen in some fashion. I would have just played simple. Rook takes. They would sacrifice their queen. I would take here. And I actually have, I think, an amusing idea, at least. Shows my sense of humour. King g2, and then swing my a1 rook all the way to h1, creating a battery of rook and queen, showing good teamwork. And black's best ideas are apparently throwing away all their knights to delay the inevitable. Right, so going back to the game, knight g8 was played in the match. Bishop takes g7 I thought was a very simple move, because it opened up their king. And I've just made that strange sound because I'm realizing queen g5 is clearly the best move. Preventing king f6, sealing up their king in the corner, then taking their bishop with the rook. Much simpler. Queen g5. So this is a computer line. And what on earth did I miss? Apparently I missed rook takes e8 with a greater advantage. So rook takes e8, going to this position. They would take it back because that's the clear move to play. I would check them. They would block with their knight. and I would take it with the pawn, so this would minimize black's chances to counter. And then I would actually have very nice. I'd have sacrificed the rook, so that, well, I say sacrificed, I'd have given away the rook for the exchange, and the moment they got the exchange, they would then lose the rook straight back. So I'd have won a knight, just in a roundabout way. And even better, the cherry on top, bishop f5 is of course a good computer move, not arguing the point. But even better, just playing a very simple human move, trade the queens. Black would not be able to avoid trading queens, and then it's an easy win. I'd just be shoving my h-pawn and my e-pawn. Black can't stop both of them. So finally, I did mess up a little bit, but still has a very good advantage with back +4. I kind of lost the thread a little bit by getting my pieces all tangled together. Queen h8 is a very, very nice move. Queen in the corner, kind of double pinning the knight and lining up with the rook and the king. Queen g7 was not as good. Bishop h7 is a very nice move, going for the knight and then being able to win some material. I thought my trump card, or my ace, was good enough, shoving the pawn. Yeah, and queen f6 just felt like a big mistake the moment I played it. I still apparently have a small advantage, but it's a huge loss compared to how well I was doing earlier. And a very, very nice move. If any of you saw this while I was playing the game, well done. Queen takes rook, looking like you're losing a whole queen, but then you have a pin. Rook g8, and I'm unfortunately going to have to give back my queen. And okay, this is better for white because I have got essentially imaginary pawn, got doubled isolated f-pawns, and that's my extra pawn for you. Bishops are usually better than knights in the ending, and maybe I can use my king to come up to say f4. Yeah, king g3 looks like a good move. So that was potentially a draw, but you know, white had chances to win if black played the correct line. Unfortunately, they didn't, as you saw, and they allowed me the mate in 3 with queen d7, then queen d8 next turn with mate. Alright, thank you for listening to me ramble on for a while, and hope you got something out of the game. And I am one step closer to 2400, so I will see you in the next video. Bye.